How's it going, everybody? This is Josh of the Pop Culture Punks. So Philip was out of town this past week, celebrating his 1-year anniversary. Congrats, buddy. And as a result, I will be doing a brief solo episode that will not be rant-filled like the early EA episode that I did, back in November last year. Instead, I will just be giving a brief high-level opinion-free recap of this past week of E3, and it'll just be covering the basics of each of the conferences. So let's just get right into it. Quick note, this is going to be pretty short, as Phil and I are going to be doing a full E3 recap episode next week, and then after that, we'll be actually back in Milwaukee, so Zach will be with us, and he will also be sharing his insights into E3. So I will not be covering Square Enix's conference because there were not a lot of games that personally I was excited for, or we think that a lot of listeners were excited for. So instead of spending time on that, we're just going to go right into it, and we're going to go off the bat with EA. So EA kicked off their showcase with some more details on Battlefield 5, which they noted will have even more destructibility in the environments, no loot boxes, no premium pass, and yes, it will be including some type of Battle Royale mode, which they announced live. The crowd responded with a weird mix of what sounded like cheering and booing, which was pretty funny. But the verbal announcement was all that was shared, so no video game footage or additional details. Following that, the showcase cut to a quick crowd interaction with Vince Zampella. Sorry, Vince. Vince Zampella of Respawn, the one of the head guys of the developer team that creates Titanfall, which Titanfall 2 is fantastic, by the way. Vince announced the name of some details of the upcoming Star Wars game that the Respawn team is working on, and it is titled Jedi: The Fallen Order. So the game takes place after Episode 3, and it follows a Padawan who survived the slaying of the Jedi. And from what I read, it sounds like it's coming out sometime next year, assumedly. And my favorite part of the whole EA conference was Battlefront 2 made an appearance, and the presenter was humble and admitted the wrong steps the company had taken with the game's initial launch, but that he was excited to announce Battlefield 2 will be introducing new content and incoming, I can't remember what the date, I don't think they gave a date, but coming soon is more DLC centered around the Clone Wars. So they'll be introducing some new heroes that you can play, such as General Grievous, Anakin Skywalker, and Obi-Wan. So tune in. So if you did end up jumping to Battlefront 2 after some of the issues were ironed out, you have that to look forward to. Then Unravel 2 was showcased, which is an indie game made by EA, and it was demoed in co-op mode, and it launched actually after the demo, so it is currently available for purchase as of last week. And so if you're a fan of the original game, you can now check out the sequel. And another new indie game, Sea of Solitude, was announced, which is a game that focuses around boats and harbor / like a naval aesthetic, and it tackles the themes of loneliness and depression, and is currently slated to launch in early 2019. So the lead gal of the development team that's working under EA seems really cool and was really, really excited to share about her game. So if you're into the indie scene, and especially more narrative games focused in the indie scene, that is going to be one you will not want to miss. If you are a Command and Conquer fan, you may have mixed opinions about what EA did at their conference, relaunching the series on mobile as Command and Conquer Rivals. So with some more or less awkward gameplay and some very interesting live play-by-play calling. Two players battled phone to phone against each other. I will break the no opinion rule for a second, and if you did end up watching the EA conference, it was a little uncomfortable. But hey, new Command & Conquer game if you're interested in it. and it will be arriving on mobile. And I don't know what the announced date is, so I will try and pull that up for this following week if anyone's interested. Next, but certainly not least, we received an extended look at BioWare/EA's upcoming third-person shooter Anthem, with extended mission gameplay shown off, as well as more info on the game's classes. Gameplay was shown off. We got some in-depth look from the devs, and it was confirmed that players can switch between classes, or in the game, what your suit is called is a javelin. So you can switch between javelins and fly around in these Iron Man-esque suits, and you will be able to do so as of right now, which the launch of the game is set for February. I believe it's like the 19th, the 29th or something, one of the 9s. And so yeah, early next year, 2019, Anthem should be available. There are a few other things that EA did announce, such as FIFA and some Madden news, but the additions were minor. EA did also announce their upcoming paid subscription service on Origins Access, but I'm going to save any other opinions, and I'm going to follow that rule because I don't want to go down that boat. But yes, Origin Access will be getting a paid subscription service, and EA detailed that there will be a number of games across their own library, and I believe other publishers' libraries that will be making it onto that platform. And then on to Bethesda next. So Bethesda's conference is pretty dynamite. We got to look at the upcoming fast-paced Mad Max-esque shooter Rage 2, which looks like a mix of like Doom and Bulletstorm with a little tint of Borderlands insanity. So that looks pretty gnarly. It will be out spring of 2019 is what they're saying right now. So if the game speaks to your interest at all, definitely check out the gameplay footage from E3 this year and some of the other trailers they've put out. It looks bananas. It's going to be a pretty sweet game. Next, Bethesda showed a new announcement for Doom. So Doom Eternal, which will be the sequel to Bethesda's hit Doom, will be out at some point. We didn't see any gameplay, just a cool trailer. And they also announced that there will be some DLC coming for their first-person shooter Prey. And Phil talked about Prey a couple episodes ago and really enjoyed it. Had some qualms, but said he would go back and play it probably and get some more details into the world and the lore. And so there's some new DLC coming out for that. And yeah, so be on the lookout if you really enjoyed that game. And speaking of Bethesda first-person shooters, the next Wolfenstein announcement was also given for Youngblood, which introduces co-op, and it is following BJ and Anya's twin daughters. So BJ, I actually haven't played the games, but this is just from digging around in the news. BJ and Anya BJ is the main character, and Anya, love interest, I'm assuming. Their twin daughters tag team up for some glorious 80s Nazi apocalyptic violent gun-toting action. So if you enjoyed the other Wolfenstein games, this one looks pretty sweet, and it's set in the 80s, so I'm really excited for that. 80s like Nazi apocalypse shooter sounds pretty freaking sweet. Next, we got some additional details of Fallout 76, which Bethesda teased about 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe a little longer. And it is the new Fallout game that is based in West Virginia. So players are able to venture through the wasteland solo or with friends in online multiplayer. And it will be out this year, November the 14th. And then stepping into a new plane, Bethesda teased their new sci-fi IP, Starfield. So there are no details given, but this will be Bethesda's first IP in, I think, like 25 years or something like that. So that'll be really interesting to see what they do, because I think sci-fi is one of the few planes that they haven't stepped in. They've kind of done that post-apocalyptic stuff with Fallout, the Nordic Viking knights and fantasy stuff with Skyrim, and now they got Starfield. So that'll be really sweet to see what they pull into the sci-fi genre. But then the granddaddy of the conference, at least in my opinion, was a short landscape-focused clip of, you guessed it, Elder Scrolls 6. So for all you Skyrim fans and Elder Scrolls fans, the wait is still ongoing, but it should hopefully be a little shorter. So Elder Scrolls 6 is coming at some point. No details, no gameplay, but just a simple rundown of the game is in the works, and it is on its way. Next, we had another conference by Ubisoft. And it started out in Ubisoft fashion with a very colorful, very live demo of the new Just Dance, of course, and I kid you not, it is still coming to the Wii. So you can literally get the next Just Dance on any console. So for those of you still stuck in the Wii generation, they got you covered. Go Ubi. They had another cinematic. I believe this was a new cinematic for Beyond Good and Evil 2, which was established as a prequel to the original and will be playable in solo or co-op. In a cool change to kind of the construction of the game, actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt, actor and founder of Hit Record, announced that his platform will be helping creators around the world contribute in-game art and music for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Ubisoft is using that platform to actually allow gamers to create stuff together to put into the game, which is pretty awesome. So it sounds like from the little poking around that I did, you can make music, you can make posters that are going to go on like walls when you walk around the game. It's going to be pretty awesome. So I was really excited to see an effort like that to allow fans to get involved in the actual development of the game, which is pretty cool. A smaller scale announcement was a hilarious showcase of the game Trials Rising, which is a racing stunt game. And it kicked off it was just the weirdest event of like one of the devs, I think, or one of the main guys behind the game who rode in on a motorbike kind of thing. It was like a moped, if I remember. Trials Rising. So that is a like racing stunt game, side scroller type deal. And that will be out February 2019. Then after that, we had Division 2, baby. So taking place months after the first game. This is kind of narrative backstory that we were given. America has fallen into civil war as the factions who survived the outbreak vie for control in the first game, so from the first game to this game. So civil war and factions are kind of fighting for who's going to be leading everybody. So the game will see up to 8-player raids, an improved experience from the first game, and Ubisoft has confirmed 3 free episodic DLC packs with new areas, stories, and activities that will all be free of charge. So I am beyond stoked for that, and that is really awesome. So hopefully that kind of pattern keeps on, and good on you, Ubisoft, for pumping that into the Division. Then we got a look at Skull and Bones, which is Ubisoft's very own pirate game. So strap on your pirate hats, mateys. So this looks like a grittier Sea of Thieves kind of pirate game with a kind of like an art style and build of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So that really got me hooked. And I don't think there was any other details, but there's going to be a new kind of pirate multiplayer, online multiplayer, and solo player pirate game by Ubisoft. Next, we have a new space shooter called Starlink that will be out this year, and on the Switch, the Star Fox Gang, and you will be able to play as Fox and the crew in this, and it is a Switch exclusive DLC only. And then some kind of rapid fire things. For Honor got some new content as well, so it looks like there will be a new class and new modes following another dynasty, and there's some new battle mechanics that they're adding, I think, in terms of multiplayer modes. And from what I was reading, people are pretty excited. So if you haven't tried For Honor and are hoping to get into it and get a grasp on the new content right away, keep your eyes out for that. And next, Assassin's Creed, which is also coming out this year. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was given more face time, so the game will take place 100 years before Assassin's Creed Origins, which I have been playing recently and is awesome. And it will be out this year, October 5th. So if you have not tried Assassin's Creed Origins yet, and you kind of gave Assassin's Creed a break a while back, definitely check out Origins. It's really good. I've been really enjoying it. More RPG-ish, not as focused on the Animus and the stuff outside of the Animus. And I've been really enjoying the gameplay, and it actually feels like a stealth game. So next, we're kind of going into the actual main developer conferences. So we have Microsoft will be first, followed by Sony, followed by Nintendo. So Microsoft gave a lot of face time to the games mentioned earlier, but among some of the new teases were Halo Infinite, which wasn't given a lot of details but was confirmed, Gears of War 5, which saw a mini trailer, and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, a sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, which I have heard high praise from a lot of very trustworthy gamers online. And that's if you're into platformers and kind of action platformers and are also a Microsoft bro or gal, definitely be on the lookout for Will of the Wisps. And next we have the Samurai Bloodborne-like game Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and that will be out 2019. So the game is in fact developed by From Software, which is the folks behind Bloodborne and Dark Souls and all those hair-tearing out, extremely difficult games. So if you really enjoy those brutally difficult games and also the samurai aesthetic, this game looks freaking sweet. So that is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and that will be out next year. We saw a little bit of FaceTime from Crackdown 3 with Terry Crews starring in the trailer. According to reports, the game is supposed to be out February 2019, but that is pending no more delays. So if it keeps on trucking and hopefully finally gets to see a release, Microsoft might have one of their first IPs in a long time come out. So Crackdown 3, y'all. Also coming out in February 2019, along with all the other things mentioned earlier, is Metro Exodus, which will be the next installment in the Metro franchise. So it's going more open areas and focusing more on the outdoors in Metro World, Russia. And the following titles were also given some FaceTime, but with very few details. So that is Session, which is a skating game, not Skate 5, or Skate 4, I guess. And people were, it looks cool. Could be really cool. I love Skate 3. Skate 3 is an awesome game. If you love skating stuff and you hadn't had a chance to play Skate 3, I think you can pick it up for backwards compat on Xbox One. So Session, Devil May Cry 5, which will be a follow-up to the most recent Devil May Cry, which saw Dante as a new iteration of Dante and his style and stuff like that. Jump Force, which is a anime-ish type brawler game, it's looking like, with who cameoed in that. It was like Luffy, Naruto. I've seen some trailers for Zolo from One Piece as well, and Vegeta. So it's gonna be a pretty bananas game. Dying Light 2, the zombie action first-person game. Battletoads, that's an old school reference. And Just Cause 4, so the mania and big explosions and all around shenanigans of Just Cause will be returning, and I think that's coming out this year actually. But the big tuna, the big tuna of Microsoft's showcase was a cinematic trailer for the upcoming game Cyberpunk 2077. You've heard it before. I am in love with Cyberpunk stuff, and this game is being developed by CD Projekt Red, so that is the folks behind The Witcher. And later in the week, some closed-door demos were shown to the press, and unanimously, everyone sounds even more excited than they were before. So if you like Cyberpunk stuff and are a fan of games like The Witcher, definitely check out the cinematic trailer they put out for 2077. And then we had Sony. So, oh man, this was a very unique, kind of new take on the E3 conferences, from what I felt like in recent years, and it really paid off. It was really awesome. So they started with an extended look at The Last of Us 2, and gosh, does that game look brutal. The combat, if that wasn't all in-game footage, just some of the things that it looks like they're doing to make the gameplay just a little more fluid, but also just incredibly visceral. It's going to be a sweet game. So if you're a fan of the first one, definitely watch that trailer. Then they had some Spider-Man footage, the PS4 Spider-Man game exclusive. So that was given some love. And a good look at gameplay. Gosh, I am really excited for that game. It is basically a Spider-Man version of the Arkham game, so they've got some web mechanics infused in it. Still, they have the kind of jump around battle style of the Batman Arkham games, but then also with the ability to use your webs and like bounce off of different obstacles in the world where you're fighting. And the trailer they showed at E3 during the conference had like some of the biggest villains in the Spider-Man universe all coming out at once. So I think it's going to have it seems like it's going to have a cool mechanic where you get to fight all those villains across the story. And this is an individually written story, so this is not pulling for any other game. So If you're a Spider-Man fan, you don't have a PlayStation, sucker. And speaking of suckers, Sucker Punch, the studio behind the infamous games, had a gameplay trailer for their new open-world samurai game, Ghost of Tsushima. Zach will get mad at me. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Ghost of Tsushima. So the colors, the vibe, just everything, the leaves. This game looks like a gem. So I don't know what the narrative or anything is given, but there was some footage shown. So that is Ghost of Tsushima. So again, if you're looking for more samurai-based games with that kind of aesthetic, definitely give that one a try and a look. Sony also revealed a game called Control. So this seems to be a third-person shooter from the studio behind the games Mad Max, Alan Awake, and Quantum Break. So Quantum Break was actually a PC/Xbox exclusive that featured some time play elements, and from this it almost has like a supernaturally vibe with like some sci-fi stuff mixed in. So it looks pretty cool, but no more details other than the quick gameplay trailer. We also got a fun, gritty reveal of Resident Evil 2, which is getting remastered. There was a quick shot of Pirates of the Caribbean coming back to Kingdom Hearts 3, Neo 2, and holy frick, Death Stranding. So with some more footage and some more cinematics, this game looks even weirder somehow than if that's even possible. Had all this stuff with like this like baby, and Norman Reedus is playing the main character, and these like weird inky umbilical cord full-grown adults floating in the air that okay, Kojima, we get it, you're a wild dude. So Death Stranding, by those who don't know, is the first game by Kojima after leaving Konami. He's also the guy, the mind behind the Metal Gear Solid franchise. From being from this dude, like, gosh, this game just looks all sorts of levels of bonkers. And yeah, so that was it from the Sony conference. And then last but not least, we've got Nintendo. So my body is ready. Super Mario Party is coming to the Switch this October. So the next party installment looks wild with innovative usage of multiple Switches playing a part in how many games are played this October. And from what I read, it is taking back the kind of like co-op-y style of the most recent Mario Party games. It kind of had you fighting like final bosses at the end. This is back to the old school hate your friends, screw them out of their stars gameplay. So I can't wait to ruin all my friendships via Super Mario Party. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is getting some DLC, which has some callouts to the original. We got a trailer for Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which, oh my gosh, I can't wait. It looks awesome. So that is currently planned for spring 2019. Mid-direct, we got the announcement that you betcha Fortnite is now on the Switch for free, and it is cross-play ready. So let's get cracking, Sony. Everyone's kind of watching and getting ashamed of y'all. After that, we got another mid-direct announcement that the Metroidvania platforming action game Hollow Knight is also available. So just purchase that. Haven't started yet. But according to critics, if you haven't picked it up and you've been waiting for it to come on the Switch, or you just haven't had any interest in it at all yet, it's like a really intense side-scroller action platformer game. It sounds awesome. It's got some Dark Soul-y mechanics, so it's like difficult, but it's also pretty intense. So it's got a really sweet art style. So if you're interested in indie games and especially Metroidvania style games, give that one a look. Splatoon 2, the Octo expansion. So that has been released as of today, which is the 19th when I'm recording this little snippet. And as of the 13th, you can currently grab Splatoon 2's DLC. So in this DLC, you can play as a new secret op character. And if you beat all the missions, you actually can play online as an Octoling, which is pretty cool. So you can either, after beating the DLC, play as a Squidling or an Octoling. And I believe there's some like new hairstyles and some new gear and equipment that comes with it as well. So yes, but let's be real. All this news from all these conferences is super great, but the only reason anyone was excited for E3 this year was Super Smash Bros. So folks, Nintendo said it themselves. I can't believe it. Every character ever in Smash Ultimate. Holy crud. Plus, Metroid's Ridley is finally in the game. So after years, so that just means beg, people, beg. Decades later, they'll finally do it. So Ridley is finally in the game. And they're bringing back GameCube controller support, which, I mean, has been kind of teased the past couple months with the Wii U adapter actually like working and people being able to use your controllers. But it means you can use GameCube controllers. You can actually currently, as of yesterday, I went online and you can pre-order new GameCube controllers and the adapter for the Switch, all Nintendo branded, on like Best Buy, Amazon. I think they're at all major retailers. So if you want one, get on that ASAP, because I know that those things are going to be gone. So I think they're $30 for a GameCube controller, $20 for an adapter. And BT Dubs, suck it, Phil. Everyone's going for this. GameCube controller, best controller ever made. Get on it. And yeah, that's that. It's been given an announcement date or a release date of December 7th. And that is the gist. So, yeah, like I said, this is kind of a hodgepodge to get something done and get something out there. So if you've been watching E3 all this whole week, none of this is probably new information, but maybe it'll kind of kickstart some things that you forgot about to check out and dig into. So thanks for tuning in. Check all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So you can check out our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can follow Zach, Phil, Chris, and I on Twitter. I am at Six Swing Creative, which, shameless plug, is my freelance creative content design company. So if you're interested in having anything custom made, whether logos or posters or things like that, I got you covered. Zach is C San Pellegrino. That is capital C, capital S, and Pellegrino. Phil is at I am Phil Sorensen, and Chris is at Chris of the Vast. So Phil and I will be back next week. As I said, we will be going hard on the E3 discussion. We'll have probably a lot of tilting opinions, maybe a little angst, maybe a little overexcitement for some stuff. But until then, thanks for listening. Shoot us a Twitter thing. Shoot us an email. You can email us at popculturepunks@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter with the the podcast Twitter at popculturepunks. And if there's anything you want to send our way to talk about or to answer, or if you'd like to interact with us online, we'd love to hear your thoughts or your criticisms or your funny quips or memes. So with that, Phil and I will be back next week, and we will be going hard on the E3 discussion. Hopefully, we won't get a little too excited. We'll be geeking out pretty hard. So thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate all you who are out there listening and staying consistent with the show. Again, this is just a quick episode and nothing special to it. We'll see you all next week on the Pop Culture Punks podcast. And with that, I bid you a fond cowabunga.
Yesterday, but the crowd comes singing back. just don't have the time.